The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect.
You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
And welcome to AfterBuzz TV. We are hosting the Grace and Frankie show here. I am Lauren Lograsso. I'm your host tonight. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at LoloLogro and Facebook.com/Lauren Lograsso. And we're going to be discussing some amazing episodes. Episode 5, The Fall, and Episode 6, The Earthquake. But before we do that, I have to introduce to my left, had to check, it's left. They're right over here.
Hey everybody, I'm Jenifer Golden. I am your other co-host, and you can find me on Twitter and a bunch of other things at Jenifer Golden, and on Instagram, Jen the Jew.
And hey guys, I am Jillian Fleischman. You can find me on Twitter at Jill_Fleischman, and then on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, Jillian Fleischman.
Check them out in all the places. They have really great. So check us out at AfterBuzz TV on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the like. And if you have a chance, go to podcast1.com because you can give us a little survey. It really helps us out. We want to get your feedback. We want to give you more of what you want. So engage with us because we will engage right back with you. And so we got to get to this episode, or these episodes.
Yes. Yeah.
Plural. We were talking about show and they're like, we got to shut it down because we need to save it for the broadcast. Mm-hmm. These were my personal favorite episodes. I think yours too, ladies, right?
Yep, my 2 favorite episodes so far.
Mine too.
They were incredible. They made me feel the most, and I think that's why we liked. I was on a real roller coaster. But The Fall, while it had so much emotional content, I thought that Frankie was the funniest she had ever been.
Yeah, I feel like we're in episodes 5 and 6 now, where the show's getting in its groove, where we know enough about all the characters to kind of just follow the story now. You don't have to learn so much, and yeah, I loved that about it too. How Frankie made me laugh, and Grace, they were so different, but they're so connected now that I loved that part of this episode.
And I love that it was mostly about Grace and Frankie this episode. It wasn't, going back and forth between Saul and Robert and Grace and Frankie. This one focused mostly on them. And I think we needed that because, let's just say the audience is mostly women. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, we want them to be friends. We want to see them connect. We want to see them help each other out. And otherwise, it's just like you're not invested.
No. And this episode was all about their relationship and the importance of their relationship and really what's at stake between them. So we start out, we're in the house, the beach house, and the two ladies, Grace's daughter, Brianna, comes over, and a little pot smoking happens. And Frankie and Brianna go off in the corner, and I thought those two had a really interesting dynamic between each other.
Yeah. I enjoy seeing how these families are so close, and the kids are so close with the other parents, too.
Right.
So I love that sort of impact where, Bud can talk to Robert, and
it's almost
really
like
nice.
aunts and uncles. Like how you can, and also like once kids grow up, you're more of like an adult, too. So you talk to them like an adult. It's not the same respect level that you like had as a child where you see them as your, elders.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that aunts and uncles comparison because I feel like with your aunts and uncles, because you don't have the need to impress them in a way that you do with your parents, you can kind of just lay it all out there. So I love when they were talking and Frankie goes to Brianna, how did you survive her? And she's like, well, this helped, talking about the pot. But it was a really interesting thing to see them talking. And then that was juxtaposed with Grace on the computer starting her internet dating life.
Yeah, that was hilarious. When she wrote fun and then she erases fun.
I mean, that was true. Yeah. She's not that much fun, but she's a very interesting, complex character.
Yeah. Well, what I liked about this episode at the beginning was, and like those like alone feelings really are continued through this episode, and how Bree doesn't have someone, and she's not on an online dating site, but she convinces her mom to do it, and then all of a sudden her mom is embracing this thing because she's afraid of not wanting to be without a man, even though she has Frankie, and she doesn't consider that the same thing.
No. And I think Brianna was saying you need to be in a relationship. You thrive when you're in a relationship. You tell them what to do.
Yeah.
That's where you are most yourself. So,
and she definitely can't tell Frankie what to do. She tries, but it doesn't work out. So it's not the same dynamic that she probably thrives on.
Frankie's actually really against it, which is the interesting part.
Yeah.
Well, not actually that interesting because they're just so opposite.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we get more to that in the next episode, but how I think Frankie's still in love with Saul quite clearly.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Still, she's not even near into the place where Grace is. But it's interesting to see, I feel like with our generation, the stigma of online dating is, if not already gone, nearly gone. But with the older generation, she's still like, I don't want to get killed, you know?
Yeah, she doesn't want to get killed, and she doesn't want to seem like a desperate loser that's online. And Bree says, they're also desperate losers online, too, if they're seeing your profile.
But the guy she went on was really, creepy.
Yeah, he was way too much. He had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
A lot of energy. But before we get to that, she's trying to go, but she doesn't finish the online profile, right?
Right.
So she again gets bombarded by the hi people. So Frankie and Brianna are like, hi, Mom. I loved how she did a roll over the couch.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a very impressive acrobatic movement, if you ask me.
Loved it. I love this episode so much. And I came to Grace, and we're like, can you take us to Froyo?
Well, Frankie couldn't find her keys, or she's like, I'm going to drive.
She threw them up in the air and then they fell over. She's like, I've got great reflexes.
Yes.
Yeah, but clearly it was quite the opposite.
Yeah.
So they convince her to take her, because what was it? What was the word that convinced her to take them to yogurt? It was like something, I wrote it down. If I remember it, I'll bring it up. But anyway, they decide to go to get yogurt, much to Grace's dismay. She drives them. And obviously we know she doesn't like eating anything fattening, so she's not interested in this sweet treat.
Right.
But they get there, and Brianna's like flirting with the guy named Brian.
Oh,
was that funny?
The funniest thing is she's like, oh my God, your name's Brian. Like, you thought she was going to say, I know you. Like, we grew up together. We went to school together. No, she's like, my name is Brian. Oh, she's like, your name is the same as mine, but without the nah.
Yeah, on soulmate level.
But she did everything that I want to do when I go to a frozen yogurt store. When you're like, oh, can I try that one again? Like, I can't figure it out. Can I try that one? Because sometimes when you go there, they give you 2 sample cups.
Right.
She said, can I try that one again? And the guy was so nice. He let her. Yeah. I would love that because I feel like a lot of pressure.
It's yogurt can be stressful, guys. It's time to admit it. It's 2015.
Wait, can I tell you a quick yogurt story?
Please.
One day with a girlfriend to have just a nice cup of frozen yogurt, and we get to the cashier, and the cashier says, I know you. And I said, how? And she says, I've seen you on AfterBuzz.
Oh,
famous.
Did she give you free yogurt?
No.
Oh, come on.
Not that big
You know
of a
what?
fan.
I didn't get any that day. I had a coffee and I had samples, and my friend had yogurt.
Oh.
But that would have been nice, and maybe she's watching this. So.
Yes. So just saying, if you feel like it.
If you're watching this.
If you're watching.
This is a message
and you
just
have
for
any
you.
love for us or Grace or Frankie, just, feel free to give us some yogurt sometime. But anyway, they're in the yogurt store, and my favorite quote there was, Grace said this, can we please go? This place smells like a breast.
Yes.
One beautiful moment.
How often does she hang out with breasts?
I don't know. She must smell them quite often if she's that familiar with the scent.
Right.
I also have to discuss the edible suicide note, which was the chicken that she was reheating in the fridge. I mean, in the microwave. That was pretty funny, too.
Yeah.
At the beginning. It was so sad.
I always feel like those little, like meal starters, what do they call them? Meal preps. Those are always sad when I see someone microwaving them. But that's a different topic.
Side topic.
It's a side topic. So anyway, Grace ends up slipping on some froyo, which is a danger I never thought of.
Neither did I.
No, but she slips.
She was probably in nice shoes, and it was like, rough terrain.
A big
Rough.
puddle that had melted.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. It seemed like it melted pretty fast.
Could happen.
Yeah. So she slips, and there's a sequence where she's kind of in and out of consciousness, and someone's calling her an old woman. Her.
Yeah.
She's trying.
Heather.
She looks great.
I remember her
Heather.
name.
Yeah. You'll never forget a Heather.
Never.
Never. So then they take her to the hospital, and the doctor is the guy she's been looking at online.
Dr. Paul.
Dr. Paul, that's right. But he was like, don't call me doctor.
I know.
Right.
I was upset about that.
Yeah,
I was like, don't be
who are
rude.
you?
Flirt.
She's Fonda. Be nice.
Right.
Hello.
Hi. So he tells her that she's going to have surgery. She's freaking out, but through it all, Frankie's there for her. She knows all the drugs she's on.
That was impressive, and
Yeah.
it did show you without, Grace saying, like, what are you writing a book on me, without Frankie having to say, I pay attention to the people I live with. Like, you already knew that.
Right.
You got that from her. Like, wow, she is so great.
Yeah, she cares about her. I mean,
so much.
The thing that Grace cares about Frankie, but she shows it very differently. So we needed this sort of scene to show Grace's realization that Frankie actually cares about her in a way that she didn't realize before.
Right, like when we saw her stock the fridge for Frankie, we knew, she cared.
Right.
But that could have also just been being nice because she felt obliged to. Now we're starting to see them actually care because they genuinely care about each other as humans.
Well, and it brought me back to the beginning of the episode where Grace wants to be on online dating to find a man, and Frankie's like, you're not alone, like, you have me.
Right.
And she's like, but no, I'm not in a relationship. Where it's like Frankie's so right, because she does have her,
right,
and she does have her to rely on, and they are in a relationship, even if it's not a romantic relationship. It's a friendship that they really need.
I mean, this episode, like, especially toward the end, made me really, like, think of all my best friends, and I'm like, God, that'd be so fun to have them if we were old and going through this crap together.
Yeah.
Like, just even girlfriend time anytime is amazing, let alone when you're going through something. So it is cool that they live together. They're roommates.
Yeah, and they're going through literally the exact same thing. You can't ask for a better support system. So I think that's what this episode really entailed for me, is them learning how much they cared about each other. So it goes through, she somehow gets the hip surgery without realizing it.
Yes. Yeah.
And basically everyone comes in, but she pushes everyone else away, but Frankie's the one that stays there.
Yeah.
And then finally she pushes Frankie too far.
Makes a comment about Coyote and says, you're high. Where do you think your addict son gets it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Ow.
that cut real deep.
Yeah.
Real deep.
Sometimes she takes out the knife and, got to put it away, Grace.
But it was interesting. Brianna, in that scene, Brianna called Robert to come, and like that's who she would want to see, and she kicks him out.
Right.
And he offered to get her pudding. It's like, thank you. So helpful
make her even older.
Yeah.
Even only putting her jello. She didn't have her teeth removed.
Right. She got hip surgery.
Yeah.
So after that, Frankie leaves because she's been deeply wounded, was not a kind thing to say. And they tell Grace they're going to take her into the MRI, and she starts to have her. So what did she say? She's like, give me all the drugs I want, but don't put me in the hole.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, she gets claustrophobic, and she's very scared of the MRI.
Yeah, but Frankie saves the day and comes in. And Grace, this was the part that really got me, because you see, up until this point, we've seen Fonda in pristine condition.
Yes.
Every single time she's been on screen. In this, she was completely stripped. Her hair was like all the way back, barely any makeup on.
She was a little pale.
Yeah, and it was such a beautiful and vulnerable moment. And Frankie really was there for her.
She came back, and she actually never left like we would have thought somebody that just got completely insulted would have done. She just went to get her pudding.
Yeah, because she was craving it after all that pudding talk.
Yeah.
Who could blame the woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she held her hand and helped her through this.
She knew she was claustrophobic. She had to save her because she knows everything, because she's so great and thoughtful and caring and a good friend.
She is.
But Frankie coming back urges Grace to apologize finally, which is her, like, the truest emotion we've seen from her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is why I love this episode, because it was so just honest.
Right. Then we find out the whole thing was a dream sequence.
It's a dream sequence.
Ooh, spooky.
I actually I don't know who could have known. But I
didn't know.
But I was like, what?
I was glad that it was a dream, and I thought it was so clever that they did that.
Me too.
Because if Grace really did break her hip, then she wouldn't be going on dating apps, and it would have just slowed the season down. So it's better that it was just a dream. It made her realize something very important. She now values Frankie.
Yes.
So I think this was like the turning point in the season where now we see them go at this together.
Right.
Versus like continue to butt heads and have tension.
Well, what's interesting is, so Frankie catches her, right?
Right.
Yeah. So,
I like that, because the shot was just on their hands. Yeah. It was really nice.
But the part is that, like, I feel like Grace never, like, owns how much Frankie means to her, and because she, like, went through this vision of this is what could have happened to me, and she was so there for me, she feels like now she has to say to Frankie how much she means to her. So they have, like, a real conversation about their friendship, which is so...
Like, the whole dream sequence, like you guys said, was a way for... for Grace to, first of all, get out the nasty things she wanted to say to Frankie in a way where she wouldn't actually have to verbally say them. Her subconscious could just do it. And then secondly, to make her realize how good she does have it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And when they talked, it was beautiful because they both said, we're going through the same thing. I'm here for you. Please start appreciating me and telling me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It was such a
right. Woman empowerment. Like, it doesn't have to be like the housewives. It can be, we can empower each other and we can be there for each other and... Yeah.
Well, Grace owned what she said at the funeral.
Right.
It was like a big moment, too.
Right. Don't be passive aggressive about it. Just let it out. We can work on our issues if we're honest.
Right. And Frankie actually did hear her say that she's stuck with her.
Yeah.
She wasn't upset about it, was she?
No.
What did she say? She said, I wish you wouldn't treat me so terribly every day.
She's like, treat me like your friend.
Yeah.
Because we're stuck in this with each other, whether we really want to be. So yeah, I loved that episode.
Yeah, it was very heartwarming. Funny, too.
Yeah.
So, gosh, like...
well, at the
Frankie,
end, the
zingers.
best part at the end when she declines Dr. Paul on the...
Yeah.
She blocked
What did she say? What did she say? Oh, because...
She was like, you didn't give me my Ativan.
She doesn't even know him, but she's just like, done.
It makes me sad that he's not going to be back. But I wonder if they're going to take this now in like a Misery Loves Company kind of way. Because if they're bonding and all of that I'm curious to see if they're going to like start bashing the guys. Because they haven't really come together on the same feelings.
Right.
They've had it separately.
Yeah.
So, like...
You mean bashing their husbands?
Yeah. Oh, they did the peyote in the beginning. They've drank wine and vodka and things like that. But they've never, like, had a full-blown trash bash.
Right.
Where they just, like, rip on the husbands and, like, bond over it.
That could be your prediction.
I think that will probably happen.
I hope so.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, up next, they shook it up with an earthquake.
Oh, yeah.
The earthquake episode. So it starts out with Grace and Frankie eating breakfast and totally different.
Yes. Grapefruit for Grace and
whipped cream looked like
whipped cream on oatmeal or something.
Some sort of healthy thing, because Grace commented on, oh, you've got such a healthy breakfast. She's like, mm-hmm. And then she starts squirting it all over.
To me, that was a joke. Like I thought looked like she had like French toast in a bowl.
No, I think it was healthy until she put the whipped cream all over.
Yeah.
I liked when she tricked Grace to put it in her mouth. It's like, now you can't eat for a week. That was the best.
Oh, that was so funny when she commented on her food intake the entire episode.
I know.
When Grace was getting ready to go on her date, she's like, and now you'll just have one piece of kale.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's like, just have a piece of kale, have a conversation. It will be perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have breakfast, and Frankie's encouraging Grace to go on these dates. She goes like, you've been winking and tickling people all week. Why don't you just actually meet someone?
She said the site for a month and hasn't gone on a date, which I thought was interesting because that really moved the story along.
Right,
we
time
know
has
that
passed.
they've been living together for a month, so they should be closer.
Right.
So, which is what we're seeing.
They seem closer. I mean, they're eating together. They're breaking bread. These are strides for our ladies.
Yes.
So
Grace actually listened to Frankie for a change.
Yeah. Hey. Good one. That's true.
Thanks.
So,
I watched.
I thought comment on the state of dating in current society, whether or not you have just had a husband that turned out to be gay after 40 years, or you're just a 20-something trying to make it in this world. It's really a strange landscape right now.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think that the idea is like a universal idea. Whatever age you're at, whatever you're going through, you're meeting someone on a site, you don't know them.
Right.
And you have to go there to meet them.
Yeah,
And
true.
it's unknown no matter what age you are.
I love that. You don't know him. Well, why don't you meet him and then you'll know him? That was
It's
great.
true.
I say that all the time, and I will say this. The app process to me is like incredibly daunting. Like, you have a boyfriend.
Yes.
But for those single people out there, it's like, now there's 20 apps. There's liking, poking, emailing, carrier pigeon, smoke signal. It's like, I don't even know how to talk to anybody anymore because there's just too much talking.
Well, you don't even actually talk.
By the way, they should make an app where you have to talk to the person on the phone.
Yeah.
Because if you had to
You
do
have
that,
to.
then it would be so much better. The
You
way that
guys.
I found my boyfriend, he called me over everyone else who would text. He would just call me. And then I fell in love with him.
Wow.
See, that's brilliant. I think you're right. I think you're onto something.
I think I shouldn't have said that on the show.
Probably not.
I think we should like go find an app creator right now and
Let's end
make
this show
that.
right
All
now.
right, great talking to you.
Goodbye. We have to go.
That in a minute, but an earthquake happens.
It does.
And Frankie freaks out. She freaks out in a way I didn't know she could. I mean, I had a feeling she could go there, but she really proved it this episode.
Yeah.
Usually she's so like hippy dippy and very like, oh, give me my peyote or whatever, and like she's more the voice of reason. But I feel like she showed us there's a side which does show she's vulnerable and needs somebody.
Well, she freaked out in her hippy dippy way. Like she was under the table and she was quoting all these things, and of course Saul knew exactly what she was going through.
I love that he came to her rescue.
I did too.
And I do love that Grace tried. She tried. And she said, I don't coddle. I can't coddle. I'm not gonna coddle. I felt very Grace in that moment. Yes. Because I am that way. So, like, then she will offer you pills. How about some vodka? I have these things that make sense to me. And then Saul came and, like, did the weird hand on chest breathing thing.
She's like, why would I touch your chest? Grace said to her. And then Saul came in and instantly massaged her chest.
By the way, gave up his day with Robert to go to Frankie, which is interesting because we've only seen Frankie and Grace lose things. We've never seen her lose anything. And that was the first time where they weren't just concerned about their relationship and what they wanted because they could be together. They were, he put her in front of Robert.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, last episode, Robert came to the hospital because Grace was there dying, apparently. Yeah. But then this one, it's nice to see that they do still care about these women, even though they're not with them. I think, obviously, Saul a bit more than Robert because like family,
right?
And he makes it very clear, like, you were my family, and it was hard for him to like have these double lives. But
I think it's important too because if we didn't see them struggle, we wouldn't like them as characters.
No, they bickered in this episode, and that was the first time they even joked that it was funny because they were bickering like a normal couple.
Yeah. Oh, and I think that's nice for them because they haven't had the luxury of a bicker before, which is an interesting thought.
But it was over his pills, which gives you the age demographic.
Oh my goodness, like where to even store them so that when you take them it makes sense.
Right, with food or not.
Or after a 5K, because walking to the bathroom is a 5K.
It's true. Some days.
Some houses are that big.
Yeah. Must be nice.
Yeah.
I'd like to live in one of them soon.
Yes.
After our app creation, perhaps. Yes. I was thinking along those lines, Frankie are there for each other, and Saul and Robert are there for each other. There are obviously still roles that neither of them can fulfill.
Yes.
So this was blatantly apparent in this episode today.
Yes.
So he does a little massage thing, and then while that's happening, Grace goes on her date with this cuckoo guy.
He was crazy.
They seemingly have a lot in common at the beginning.
I think he was just mirroring everything. Yeah.
Well, when he was like,
everything that he said just got worse and worse. It was like painful to watch. I'm surprised she even sat there the whole time.
Right. It was disgusting, actually.
Yeah.
He mirrored her order. It was so weird.
Yeah.
Oh, and like he one-upped her though. Like he'd be like, "Oh, that steak salad is everything.
Yeah.
You are everything."
And then he tried to like dirty dog her. She's like, "Check."
With the steak.
Right.
He was going under your mouth. It's like,
it's so weird.
If someone ever says that to you, ladies or gentlemen, just run in the opposite direction as far as you can.
Unless that's your thing, then stay.
Yeah, if you like it. Yeah, if you like being compared to pieces of meat, by all means, please.
Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
We don't know what your thing is.
Do you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We support you. So that came to an end. So she starts going home, and meanwhile, Robert and Robert
Saul.
is not there. Saul, thank you.
Saul and Frankie.
Saul and Frankie go out to lunch, and they're acting normal. And this huge, crazy event happens where
It's an aftershock.
it's an aftershock, but it's like more like the aftershock of their relationship.
Oh, totally.
Yes.
That's
So I thought it was
100%.
interesting how these earthquakes kind of mirrored their lives.
Yes.
So the aftershock of their relationship, where she asks, "When did you and Robert get together?"
Yes, I love that she asked that, and I feel like it's interesting to see their dynamic because they are so close and they do communicate so well that she wanted to know, and he felt bad, but he told her. And we find out that it was 20 years ago when they were on a business trip and they got a little tipsy. They were in the elevator, they kissed, then they never spoke of it for 4 months, and then it kept on happening and they couldn't deny it anymore.
Yeah, I think he actually says that it went from like sex to love.
Yeah.
And once
Right.
that happened, they tried to stop it, but they couldn't stop it.
And he said when it went to sex from love, that's when he couldn't tell her. And this scene made me cry a lot. I don't know about you guys, but I just, breaks my heart. Because there's nothing they could do. Like, there's nothing Frankie could have done to stop it.
Well, Saul could have let her go, but he loved their family, like he said.
Yeah,
like,
he wanted their family.
He loved two people. And obviously he was in love with one and he loved the other. And he still loves and he's a good guy.
He is.
You can't help but feeling bad.
I mean, I am totally team Sam Waterston.
I know you love
general.
him so much.
But I just think he's just nice and he's a warm person.
He's endearing.
You want to love him.
I feel like this character, he's playing. It's like very, very him in real. Where like he's like a warm, caring person, but he also wants happiness, but he still cares about her, as opposed to Robert and Grace, who are very cold to one another. Yeah. They are still very well connected, and I think it's nice to see that the men are not exactly the same, just like the women aren't exactly the same.
So when that aftershock did come, did you guys notice how she didn't freak out as much? And I felt like that was a symbol of how she's already gone through the biggest earthquake in her own life, so she doesn't need to freak out.
I agree. And I feel like she did, like, let go of a little bit when they did have that conversation.
Right.
Like, not closure, but kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then she was able to stand on her own and, like, help herself through it.
Yeah. And she didn't want him to massage her chest anymore. She was like, go, girl.
I was like, go. We saw an appearance, by the way, of Mallory. And and Coyote.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Where Coyote kind of tries to apologize.
Yeah, and he brings...
The Gay Penguin
The Gay
book.
Penguins. I've seen that book. And it's a really helpful book to explain, what gay is to kids.
Seems wonderful.
Yeah.
But her husband was having nothing of it.
No, but it's so thoughtful of Coyote. And he sold his bike seat to get the book.
Yeah, that was
weird.
weird.
Make any money.
Probably hard once you leave rehab.
Teacher, wasn't he? Isn't he like a teacher?
He's something. He's always going somewhere.
Yeah, he was on a campus. You're right. I don't know. But that made me really sad and made me feel for him and think, wow, you're a good human being, Coyote.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of issues, but now he's coming up the other side. So.
Yeah.
And she's being more receptive to him and being nicer and not just kicking him off the property. And, And she's planting...
That was so funny, wasn't
pacifiers. And growing lollipops.
Yeah, what was that?
I think that was a way to get her to stop using the pacifiers to be like, see, we have to plant them now because if we plant them, they'll grow. But I've never heard of that before.
Wasn't around when I was a kid.
No, it sounds cool. I wish someone would do that for me.
I feel like it promotes, like, you're going from pacifiers and, like, kind of messed up teeth with that to, like, sugary teeth. Like, you're saying, like, really no more of this, use this.
Right.
Yeah, it's like replace your poison.
Right. Like, now you get lollipops if you give that up.
Yeah. Well, America, we're not necessarily on this particular child rearing method. No. But you can make your own decisions. Yeah. So that's good for Mallory. God bless her.
God bless her. So they were getting along. It was cute. And then Mitch comes home.
Oh, and Mitch is not having it. No. He wants Coyote off the premises.
Yeah. Right. Well, she gives Coyote his bike seat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was nice to see Jeff Stoltz again on there, and he had more to say this time. I felt bad for him, though. It's like, oh, what husband wants to deal with that guy? And he has to, because it's like essentially her stepbrother. It's not just some dude that was wasted 7 years ago and came, who's
like out of her life.
Or not 7 years ago. What was it, a year ago that it happened?
But, a significant amount of time ago. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after that, we segue to another scene, and Grace is coming back from her date in the house.
Another date.
Eating a ham Sammy. And she's scared because he's one of Frankie's students, so we know he's an ex-convict. But she's kind of intrigued, right?
I like that she just flat out says, "What'd you do?"
Right. Yeah, and he answered her. Well, with a joke and then a truth.
I liked it. He was very charming.
Yeah, he was sexy. I was kind of feeling him.
I also liked that he was wanted. Yeah. She wanted like a normal, sane, perfect guy that she was ever going to meet, and she got an ex-convict who broke into her house.
She needed to get that out of her system.
Yeah, right. She needs to be messed up a little bit. I think she needs to be ruffled up. That earthquake kiss was exactly what she needed.
Yeah, she needs to, be...
Then when the condoms fell out of her mouth.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious. I thought I was scared for a minute, because when you see a scene like that, as a woman, my biggest fear is seeing someone in my house I don't know. Terrifying. But once we started getting his story, I was like, okay, you can be in my house if you want.
Yeah. I mean, he was quite peacefully just sitting there eating a ham sandwich. So.
Yeah. He had a little accent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just a little saucy. But did you love how Fonda wrapped her legs around him?
I thought she was great.
Yeah.
She was great. And then she's like, oh, okay.
Gotta stop this. She's like, I will remain a lady for today.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I wonder if they're going to have a run-in again, but we'll see.
I loved it when she talked to Gracie, or when Grace and Frankie talked later, when Frankie was in her studio painting, and she was like, oh, a student of yours stopped by today. And then Frankie's like, he's very talented. And Grace is like, she just gave a little eye thing.
Did you guys, notice the painting at the end was hilarious.
Was choking a chicken.
Choking the chicken.
It was supposed to be funny, right?
It was also like earlier in the episode, Robert saw her painting. It's like, that's a different direction for you.
Yeah.
And it was, and then we see it and it's choking the chicken, which is too good.
Good. I hope it's a foreshadowing of what's to come for everyone.
I agree.
Me too.
And then on the flip side, we see Saul and Robert get into a little bit more. They bickered in the beginning, but then they've like kind of got into a fight because Saul didn't come home when he said he would. He missed the paella date.
And Robert invited people over.
Yeah.
And there was a miscommunication with text, which
Right.
I saw when I looked back
I saw when it
at
happened.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been blatantly apparent if you were texting back and forth.
Right.
But still, at the end, Saul tells Robert he's his life, and then he still texts Frankie.
Well, I think it's different now.
It's hard for him.
There's a role reversal because he probably felt that way about Robert.
Right. That's so on point, yes.
Yeah, and now he's doing the reverse. And I think Frankie's always going to be in his life.
Yeah.
Well, she has to. She's innately part of his life now with his children.
Yeah.
And they created 40 years of a relationship together. You can't just throw that out.
Like, that becomes your family at that point, not just your husband. Like,
Right.
you know, your kids, you birth them, but your husband is like your partner in life.
Yes,
like,
I
that
agree.
becomes-
Yeah.
They
But it's
become your
nice.
family. It's true.
We're seeing so many more layers of the story. It's so well
Yeah.
done, and this is halfway through the season.
Yeah.
So we got
Can't
half.
wait. Gotta pull it together and not watch the rest.
It's
Right.
so hard. But doing the 2 episodes now, I feel like I'm manageable. I'm not ravenous
Yeah.
for another.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Because
So-
and these 2 episodes seem to go together really well because it started
yeah.
the dating and then we got to see her go on a
Yes.
date and
Yeah.
there's a lot of that. So,
It's full circle.
yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
TV news.
So very exciting. Grace and Frankie was renewed for season 2. Woo! So that means they're back. I
Yay.
mean, we can't be really surprised. We've all talked about how
Right.
we really love the show and the characters are great.
great sound
There
effect.
was a lot of talk that Miley Cyrus really got a lot of people to watch the show
Yes.
who hadn't seen it because
I read
she
that.
binge watched it one weekend and tweeted to all of her followers, watching this amazing show, watch it now. So they think that sort of helped. But I think it's just a great show altogether.
I think those 2 things, you know, coupled together are pretty awesome.
Yeah, and
It's
I'm
amazing.
super excited because that means we get to see more and we all get to be together a little.
So
Yes.
excited. Can't
I love
wait.
it.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Miley.
I wonder where the story's going to go.
don't know.
Well, we haven't seen the end, so we could watch it. But no, patience.
Trying to be healthy here.
Patience.
It's so difficult.
Yes.
To not go for it. I also read that, we talked about, I think the first week and the second week, about how the women were making the same amount as men, even though they're the namesake of the show.
Right.
And how they're upset about that. So they're going very, very public about it. And I'm guessing making a higher paycheck.
I think that's fair.
than their male
I think that is fair,
counterparts.
too.
I do as well. I hope they go for it. And also, I read that Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are going to be doing, is it a TED Talk? I believe a TED Talk on friendship.
Stop.
that's
I
nice.
just got chills.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
I wanna watch
this is
it.
a perfect example of 2 women supporting each other and lifting each other up.
Yeah.
And we hope we do
Love
that
them.
for you here at our AfterBuzz panel too.
Yeah.
3 or 4 women who support each other
Yeah.
and lift each other up.
Yeah.
And also, before I forget, if you can, go to iTunes and check us out there, rate us and comment us there. Tell a friend. We love to hear from you, like I said earlier. And now, are we going to do some predictions?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Should we predict some things?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So, ladies, what do you think?
I think Grace is going to have to go through a few frogs before she finds a prince. So we might see throughout the season, some more bad dates, but then she's going to meet someone who she actually likes and maybe breaks down her walls a little more. And that could be, some tension between she and Frankie, who are now very close, and maybe someone else takes her attention. That's my prediction.
I think that's interesting. And I also think that while they are very close, or they're getting there, that they are going to have a girls' night and they're going to kind of let loose and they're going to act like normal girlfriends. It would be funny to see them act like younger girls.
Yes.
At their
Going
age.
to a bar.
Like doing the same things that we all do, but at their age, because really, truthfully, we're all, the same inside. And I think seeing them just have fun will be so great.
Yeah.
That would be beautiful. I think this is far down the road, but I think we're going to also see Frankie, dip her toe in the dating pool.
I agree.
I think that'll be far
I'd
down
love
the road.
that.
Maybe the last episode, or maybe the second to last. But I think that's going to happen.
I'd love that.
And I hope
would
we
love
see
to
our
her.
convict lover again too.
That would be great. I'm surprised Frankie hasn't dated any of her convicts.
I know. Maybe
Well-
she hasn't. She hasn't talked about it. No, she
No,
hasn't.
maybe
Definitely
No
not.
way.
I would love to see that happen. And also, I feel like Mallory and Coyote may kiss at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is such chemistry.
That is a constant prediction.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll just keep predicting
We're going to table that prediction for every week.
it.
Yes.
For every week. Yeah, that's right. Well, guys, I think that wraps up our show. Anything else you want to say?
Nope.
No, you feel good? All right. Thank you so much for checking us out today. This has been AfterBuzz TV, the Grace and Frankie Show. And you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at LoloLogro and Facebook.com/Lauren Lograsso.
And you can find me on Instagram at Jen the Jew and on everything else at Jenifer Golden.
And you can find me on Twitter at Jill_Fleischman and everything else at Jillian Fleischman.
Yay!
From executive Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.